As any gardener knows, the easiest way to keep track of plants and trees and where they'll do well where we live is to check the hardiness zones.
Yeah, the Department of Agriculture first started printing these hardiness zone maps back in 1960. It's based on average annual minimum temperature for any given spot.
And as you might expect, climate change is changing the face of those maps. Here's our Mark Kane.
Under grow lights, in sunrooms, in greenhouses, this time of year is filled with anticipation and anxiety. Gardeners and farmers want to plant, but timing is everything.
We have to watch the weather every day here in the spring.
Yeah, we are more obsessed with weather than Gary, honestly. Gardeners are the most obsessed weather people on the planet.
We check it 30 times a day.
We do. I have, 9 apps on my phone?
When to plant and what to plant depends on your climate. 60 years ago, the U.S. Department of Agriculture published its first hardiness zone maps. What plants can be grown where based on annual minimum temperatures. There are 10 zones in the continental United States. 10 is in South Florida. The frozen depths of Alaska are a 1. In 1990, southern Wisconsin was a 4. The latest maps, released in 2012, moved us up a notch to a 5. We're warming up.
We've seen that because of the warming, a lot of the plant hardiness zones have already shifted northward.
Michael Notero is the Associate Director of the Nelson Institute for Climatic Research on the UW campus.
I know in the last few decades they've already advanced about one zone, and likely we're predicted by the end of the century to shift an additional zone in Wisconsin, and that would allow for some species that are more in the central U.S. to potentially be grown in Wisconsin.
Under future global warming scenarios, researchers believe the hardiness lines will march northward by 13.3 miles every decade. And that means big changes in farming, changes they're preparing for here at UW-Wisconsin's Foundation Seed Center in Arlington. They develop and grow foundation seed stock, genetically superior seeds sold to producers who in turn sell these super seeds, if you will, to growers and farmers, mostly wheat and oats and soybeans, but that could be changing.
Our regrowing zones are moving north, then it provides farmers the opportunity to grow to corn, soybeans, alfalfa, forage crops for livestock and higher value crops.
And for the home garden enthusiast, a warmer climate also allows for more variety.
It changes the plant palette of perennials that are hardy.
Mostly perennials.
In those zones.
And trees and shrubs.
You can more confidently plant lavender now, which is one of our most popular perennials. All those varieties are zone 5.
We've gotten a lot more experimental about things like Japanese maples or interesting red buds. So some of the trees that are a little more uncommon.
But a warming climate also makes for more weather extremes, especially if we continue down the path we're on.
By the end of the century, we'd get much more substantial warming, much more substantial increases in heavy precipitation events, much more intensified weather conditions.
If climate change is causing more severe weather events, then plant breeders are going to have to focus on how do we make our newest and latest and greatest varieties more resistant to these.
It'll be like super dry, and then there'll be a deluge and there'll be flooding. It's just like a roller coaster. So I think that's how climate change is affecting the gardening industry.
In Madison, I'm Mark Kane, News 3 Now.
Another result of a warmer climate is longer growing seasons. The last and first frosts are coming earlier and later most years.
And 2022 may be an exception.